Hello everyone, this is Aegon of Astora, and this is a long overdue channel update. Before we get started, I just wanted to remind you that I last released a episode of Let's Talk Lore in December, in which we explored Archdragon Peak, and that episode actually contains a lengthy channel update segment. So if you're a bit confused or you're not entirely clear by this particular channel update, the reason for that is likely that you might want to go back and watch that channel update because it contextualizes the things I'm about to discuss. So with that said, where's my blind playthrough of Elden Ring? And what about the next episode of Let's Talk Lore? In short, I'm still looking for a PS5 with which to play Elden Ring, and I know I could play it with PS4, but as I've explained previously, I really don't want to play a substandard version of the game. I would like to play the definitive version of the game, and I'm thinking back to my Demon's Souls playthrough, which, again, I mentioned this in the episode of Let's Talk Lore I just referenced, but that playthrough was great, and I don't regret doing it. However, I don't want to be in a situation where I play the substandard version of a game or the non-definitive version of the game, and I know that the Bluepoint version of Demon's Souls has problems, but still, it's funny when you play a version of a game that is quite dated but still enjoyable, and then they release a better version of the game a couple years later. However, in this instance, the two games are released side by side, and I really don't want to play the substandard version of the game. So, if I'm going to take time out of what is otherwise an incredibly busy schedule, and I'll get to that in a minute, to do a full playthrough of a game like Elden Ring, I would like for it to be the definitive version of the game. However, because work has been exceptionally hectic for the last 4 months, I've really not had any time to record anyway, so even if I had got my hands on a PS5 in January or February, there's just no possible way I would have been able to record a playthrough. And, I'd love to be able to say that things will calm down soon, but I'm dealing with a great deal of uncertainty in my personal and professional lives right now. So just as I can't say when I'll find a PS5, I can't say when I'll be able to record the next episode of Let's Talk Lore. Simply put, I've not forgotten about each of you, but I'm presently dealing with a major shortage of time, as well as a tremendous amount of uncertainty. So I'm sorry, but I just can't yet tell you when you'll see the next episode of Let's Talk Lore on the channel, nor when I'll be able to record an Elden Ring blind playthrough, but I am doing the very best that I can to get back to creating some content for the channel. Again, I don't think I will never be able to go back to the days of graduate school when, I had the luxury of maybe neglecting my responsibilities a little bit here and there to create content. That's just unfortunately not going to happen anymore because of where I am in my life right now. But I will do my best to get back to some form of semi-consistent content creation as soon as I can. So as for the long-winded version, we need to start with a brief recap. This past December, as I mentioned, when we last saw each other, it was Dark Souls 3 Let's Talk Lore, and the episode was dealing with Archdragon Peak. And in that episode, I included a lengthy channel update in which I explained that I had just started a postdoctoral fellowship and that I was conducting equity-oriented STEM education research with the engineering faculty at my university. I also explained that I was hoping to record more than one episode of Let's Talk Lore in 2022, and that I was hoping to get my hands on a PS5 and record an Elden Ring blind playthrough. As it turns out, I may have been a little bit overly optimistic with both of those ambitions. In other words, I've still not been able to find a PS5, and I have been trying. And now my script is repeating things that I ad-libbed in the first segment, but even if I had managed to get my hands on a PS5, I've simply had no spare time since the Soulsmith's break with which to do a blind playthrough of Elden Ring. And likewise, I've had no spare time to start working on the next episode of Dark Souls 3 Let's Talk Lore. And the reason for that is that my postdoctoral fellowship has been giving me a series of incredibly swift kicks to the rear end, to the point where I've been working something like 60 55, 60 hours a week on average in 2022. So essentially I've had zero spare time for anything other than sleep, going out for groceries, occasionally watching some television, really not much in terms of spare time at all, unfortunately. But as you might imagine, this whole experience has left me kind of questioning whether academia is for me at all, and whether there's any point in even remaining in academia, given the sort of life it seems to involve. But yeah, I'll get back to that in a minute. So I'm not saying that I don't plan to create any video content this year, but I am dealing with, again, repeating things that I said in the first segment already, I'm dealing with a great deal of uncertainty at this point. So all I can say for now is that I'm still looking for a PS5. I'm still actively avoiding Elden Ring spoilers. And I have to apologize to all of the people who I was previously subscribed to, but that I am no longer subscribed to, because anytime someone posts a video, shout out to Ghost Hardware. I saw Ghost Hardware posted a video today of something involving Elden Ring invasions. Of course, I had to unsubscribe just in case. I'm actively avoiding Elden Ring spoilers, not really looking on Twitter. Again, really haven't had the time, so it's been easy, but yeah, I have had to unsubscribe and sort of avert thine eyes in various contexts, trying to avoid Elden Ring spoilers, all in the interest of ensuring that when I do have time to do a blind playthrough, I can still go in completely blind. The episode of Elden Wait that I appeared on the Lore Hunters channel, if you watch that episode in which I appeared, in which we watched one of the early trailers, I think it was just the cinematic trailer, it wasn't even the gameplay trailer, that is more or less where I stand as far as my knowledge of the game is concerned. So I basically don't know anything. And obviously I'd like to keep it that way, so please be mindful in your comments to this video. But yeah, I'm rambling. I'm still trying to get my hands on a PlayStation 5. Now, if you have any advice as to how I can get my hands on a PlayStation 5 in Canada, I would love to hear it. I know that Sony has a direct-to-consumers program in which you can sign up on their website, and then, you know, if you win the lottery or whatever, they will give you an opportunity to purchase a PlayStation 5 console directly from them. However, that is not available in Canada. So before you mention it, thank you, but I've already looked into it. It's, for one reason or another, it's just not available in Canada. So for now, I'm just going to keep looking, but if you have any suggestions for how I can get my hands on a PS5 in Canada, I am all ears. As for when Dark Souls 3 Let's Talk Lore will return, again, I really don't know. It all depends on my professional situation, and that is very much in flux right now. As I explained in the channel update segment in the previous episode of Let's Talk Lore, I started a postdoctoral fellowship in May 2021. But what I didn't say at the time was that it was only a one-year contract. I had assumed, rather naively in retrospect, that my work was valued to such a degree that even if I was not able to secure funding to support my research, that they would renew my contract anyways. I didn't take that for granted, however, and I put a ton of effort and time and blood, sweat, and tears into producing a really strong grant application that, for several $100,000, which would have supported my research for at least 3 years, in addition to giving me an opportunity to hire research assistants and to offer honoraria to the students who would be participating in that study. But yeah, without getting into the minutiae of how private council funding works in Canada, I'll just say that because the research I was proposing was between the social sciences on the one hand and the natural sciences and engineering on the other, I found myself in a situation where the research I was proposing would have been considered too radical or out there for natural sciences and engineering funding. However, that's the largest pool of funding available in terms of federal grants in Canada. So even though my grant application was a strong one, I had to apply for the social sciences pool of funding, which is a much smaller pool, and therefore which is subject to a much more competitive process. So ultimately, my research, even though all indications were given that it was a very strong application, my grant application was not funded. So my contract at the time of recording, which I didn't mention it, but it's May 12th, 2022, and I hope you're all having a fantastic day whenever it is you find yourself watching this, but my contract ends in 6 days. And so I wanted to put out this video update much sooner, but I've been just rushing to get to the finish line as far as finishing all the deliverables and the papers that I've been working on as part of my fellowship. I've been trying to finish all of that before my contract ends, and it ends in 6 days. But yeah, my contract ends in 6 days, and it's not being renewed, at least not as of yet. And you know, as I mentioned earlier, this whole situation has left me feeling somewhat frustrated and disillusioned with academia. I've been caught in this seemingly endless cycle of trying to prove myself, of trying to prove that my ideas have merit and that they're worthy of being supported. So rather than trying to change the world, working to change the world, which is of course why I entered academia to begin with, I've spent most of my time in the last year trying to convince others that my approach to changing the world is a good one, and that it's pretty absurd when you actually stop to think about it. And you know, I'm very proud of the work that I've been doing, and I'm very proud of the study that I'm currently writing a series of manuscripts for. But and you know, I do think I've made a difference, at least in the lives of a handful of the research participants I've been working with. And my hope is, of course, that the work that I'm putting out there will make a difference in terms of how engineering and science faculties approach the task of completing equity-oriented science and engineering, mathematics, and technology outreach programs, because the prevailing approach to these programs is not good. But I'm rambling, and I already went over this in the previous episode of the most recent episode of Let's Talk Lore, so I'll leave it there. But I thought I broke this cycle of trying to prove myself and of trying to prove that my ideas had merit when I earned my PhD. But the last year has made it very clear to me that earning a PhD is only the beginning of this process, and that the cycle really doesn't end until you earn tenure. And then even then, I'm starting to get the sense that the cycle continues. It's a different kind of cycle because, yes, of course, you have some form of job security, which other than that, you're just precarious all the time, not knowing whether you'll have a contract, not knowing whether you'll have a job going forward. But yeah, it's a pretty depressing prospect to think about, because to earn tenure, you're looking at maybe a decade of working 50, 60-hour work weeks. And after the last year, I don't know if that's something I really want to do. I don't know if I have the capacity to do that, even if I did want to do it. So I don't know where I go from here. And I know I've offered virtually no answers here, and I'm very sorry for that, but the truth is that I just don't know. For now, I need to wrap up the work I've done in the last year, and even though the postdoctoral fellowship is ending sooner than I hoped it would, again, I'm really proud of the research I've done, and I think the publications I'm working on will speak for themselves. I'm also applying for jobs both within academia and outside of it, and at this point, if I end up landing a job outside of academia, I might just end up taking it, especially if it means not having to work 60 hours a week. That would free up a bunch of free time for me to be able to work on videos again, and it would allow me to just enjoy life more in general. Because right now, my life is little more than waking up, working, going to sleep, waking up, working, going to sleep, go from the bedroom over there to the desk right here, work, go to the kitchen to get food, do dishes, go to the washroom, back to bed. It's just another cycle. So obviously the Souls games and presumably Elden Ring is all about cycles, and getting mired in cycles. And I'm sure many of you can relate to this. Those of you who are very fortunate like me, of course, and I recognize that I'm extraordinarily privileged to be able to work at home, given everything that's still happening in the world today. But you just get in this cycle where you just are doing laps in your apartment of just doing the same thing over and over again. And it wears on you after some time. And I think this is true no matter how passionate you are about the work. And as you all know, I'm very passionate about the things I do, and I wouldn't do them if I wasn't passionate about them. But yeah. Anyways, I realized this update is becoming a bit of a downer. I sincerely apologize for that, but I do actually have some good news with which to end this update, and that is my wife and I are moving. I've mentioned in the past that, again, we share a pretty small apartment. Kitchen is right behind where the camera is here. My desk is here, which is the dining room, and our living room is there. Door is there, bathroom, and bedroom. So, there are smaller apartments out there, and I recognize that, but even when I do have some spare time for recording, my office space is more or less in the middle of the apartment because everything other than the bathroom and the bedroom is more or less one large room. So again, even when I did have some time for recording, the arrangement of our apartment is such that it was very difficult to actually do that. However, our new place actually has 2 bedrooms. So the second bedroom is going to be a guest bedroom / my office. So that means that if I manage to get my hands on a PS5 after we move, I will actually be able to, whenever I have spare time, which will hopefully be more often depending on what my job situation is after we move, and after we get settled in and everything, that will leave some time and some space in which I can quietly enjoy Elden Ring, record my blind playthrough, and then hopefully post it and share it with each of you. Now, I should remind each of you that this is something that I pointed out in, or at least I think I would have pointed this out in the Let's Talk Lore episode that I released in December. But of course, it's been almost 5 months at this point, so even the details are a little bit blurry for me right now. But my plan is essentially that I will record all of the episodes before posting any of them. And I've even written a disclaimer to leave at the beginning of each episode explaining that the episode you're about to watch was recorded as part of, or, I don't recall the exact wording, but I can put it up on the screen right now. So in other words, you won't have to worry about spoilers or spoiling me in the comment section because I'm going to record the whole thing, post it, and then let you all enjoy. So all of this is to say that it may be a little while longer before you hear from me again, and I hope you know I've not forgotten about you. I'm just dealing with a lot right now, and I've been really quite overwhelmed with my life in general. And I do think that brighter days are ahead, however, and I hope to share some of those days with each of you in some way, shape, or form going forward. Finally, for those of you who have continued to support me on Patreon, I thank you sincerely. Your support, it really does. It means the world to me. And I know that I've said previously that you should not think of my Patreon as being related to the frequency or the quality of the content that I'm producing. And, so I've tried to disentangle or uncouple those things so that you don't think that by supporting me, it's going to make it more likely for me to produce content more often. However, this is still something that weighs on me. Every month which passes and I receive the Patreon money, I get this weird feeling in my stomach like, I feel bad. I really do feel bad. And it weighs on me, like I said. So, because, I'm not producing any new content right now. And the reasons, as I just said, are I think, obviously they're good reasons because I just don't have any time at the moment. And I need to, my wife is my family now. And I need to contribute to my family or our family finances. And we have things that are going on, which, I will hopefully be able to share with all of you soon. But again, it's I have responsibilities now that I didn't have when I started this channel. And so it's obviously incumbent upon me to take those responsibilities seriously. But, all the same, just know that I do think about you. And I think about all of you. And I think especially whenever that money is deposited into my account each month from those of you who are so very kind and generous to do that, it weighs on me. And I just want you to know that if you decide to withdraw that support, I totally get it. I totally understand. It makes sense to me. And just so you know, I don't take it for granted because I really don't. And I appreciate it so very much. But I totally understand if you have to withdraw it for whatever reason, or you choose to withdraw it for whatever reason. I understand. I get it. Thank you so much for what you have given me. It really does mean the world to me. And for everyone watching this, whether you have given money to Patreon or through Streamlabs or not, I really can't express to you how much it means. And because I know not everyone has the means financially to support the channel, and you don't have to. You absolutely don't have to, because there are days when I'm having a really rough day with work and in my personal life and whatever, and I have on my phone notifications enabled, so whenever someone sends me a comment or makes a comment on YouTube, I see them all and I read them all. I don't always have time to respond to all of them or to heart them or whatever, but I read them all and I'm always so very grateful. And those comments, they really do make my day sometimes, because the mere idea that however many years ago it was now, almost 7 years ago now, that I had this idea, maybe a handful of people would be interested in hearing my super pedantic ideas and thoughts about Dark Souls. And, I thought maybe 10, 20 people out there would be willing to hear those thoughts. Not in my wildest dreams did I imagine that this many people would be interested in hearing my thoughts and watching me play through these games, and being willing to wait a year between content, a year between episode releases, to just hear what I think about a particular area in a game that is now 6 years old. I'm not sure that I can put in words how good that makes me feel, but I hope you all know how much I appreciate it, and how much I appreciate you and the things that you share in the comment section, and the maturity and just how wonderful you all are. So anyways, I'm rambling at this point, and I'm gonna stop it here because I don't know how much space I have left on my phone for recording videos. So thank you. That's really all I have to say. But that's going to do it for this channel update. But thank you all very much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.